Did you have Arkansas at this point in the season marked as a should be undefeated team? Because in the one game they lost, it was over 600 yards of offense. That's Chris Gordy locked on SEC. Did you see this coming from Arkansas? And do you think they keep it rolling against Texas A&M?
Yeah, I did. Taylon Green, the Arkansas quarterback we had on Locked On SEC this offseason, and just listening to him and, I watched some of his film. He played in the conference championship game for Boise State last year, and I liked what I saw. And it was, the dual threat, maybe not the greatest passer ever, but his running ability you couldn't deny. And I just thought it was going to be a perfect marriage with Bobby Petrino coming through to Arkansas. Taylon told me that they watched film on Lamar Jackson, and Bobby Petrino showed him some of the playbook that he ran at Louisville. And I kept saying, man, this might work. And then I saw Jaquindon Jackson, who started his career at Texas, then went to Utah and came to Arkansas this offseason. I saw him in the spring game and I went, whoa, that guy can move. He's he's a bulldozer. So I thought both of them with the Petrino, play calling was going to be successful. And I think I tweeted out this summer, I said, all the talk a year ago at this time was KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders. I said, I feel like Arkansas is in better hands a year later with Taylon Green and Jaquindon Jackson. And so far through 4 weeks, they've made me look very smart. I mean, Arkansas right now is, 16th best rushing offense in the country, 26th best passing offense. They're 8th in total offense. I mean, Mike Elko, defensive-minded coach, but he's got a real challenge on his hands this week. And it's a neutral field game in Dallas that, rivalry game that A&M has largely owned, but it's because Arkansas makes stupid mistakes. I think it was a year ago. They're going in for the score. KJ Jefferson's just trying to get over the goal line. He goes over the top, fumbles, and it's returned all the way the other way for A&M. I mean, take care of the football this week, and I think Arkansas's got a great chance at the upset.
Bobby Petrino has been so good at offensive coordinator. He has made a Houston Astros fan look smart. How about that? Never thought I'd see the day. But I think Texas A&M also showed something against Florida. Look, I know the quarterbacks are back and forth and it hasn't been consistent. And this is a neutral site game. I'd feel a lot better if it were at Kyle Field. I like Mike Elko, though. And I think that Arkansas comes back down to earth a little bit against that Texas A&M defense. I think the Aggies win this game. I think it's decently high scoring. I'll go 31-26. Texas A&M wins.
I'm a little worried about the offense for A&M. Marcel Reed has been good, not great in Connor Wegman's absence. And, he's kind of the dual threat guy too, a lot like Taylon Green. He had 91 rushing yards against Bowling Green last week. But I'm still worried about A&M's run defense. They were one of the worst in the country a couple weeks ago. They've improved. I think they're 62nd right now in stopping the run, but that's because Bowling Green barely ran the ball on them last week. They threw it. And they had to hang on for a 6-point home win against Bowling Green. I mean, this is at Kyle Field. So A&M's kind of playing with fire here with Marcel Reed. I know Elko said earlier this week that, we're working out Wegman on the side. We're hoping to maybe get him back. I think that's all just smokescreen. I think it's going to be Marcel Reed this weekend. And if he turns the ball over and, doesn't take care of it, I think this is a real ugly spot for A&M. But I don't know, man. I think Arkansas's defense really showed their grit last week in that road win at Auburn, getting all the turnovers. I think if they force Marcel Reed into some mistakes, Arkansas will win this game.
I think we'll learn a lot about Colin Klein, the Texas A&M offensive coordinator, and how great of a game plan he can devise to score enough against the potent Arkansas offense as you talked about. Let's talk about a game that is maybe the most unpredictable yet high-pressure SEC game of the week. Oklahoma at Auburn. Both of these teams are just desperate for a victory right now, Gordy, and it's at Jordan-Hare, and that hasn't mattered a single bit for the Tigers. I struggle. As much as I like the team around the quarterback position, somehow the quarterback position at Auburn is worse than what it has been at Oklahoma. At least that's from my vantage point, and it certainly hasn't been good for the Sooners, but I like Oklahoma's defense. They're favored by 2.5, according to our friends at FanDuel. I think Oklahoma wins this game. I think it's ugly, though. I'm going 17-10.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, too. I don't think it's going to be as bad as that. Was it Arkansas, Mississippi State last year? That was 7-3. I mean, that one set college football back 100 years. But, I think Oklahoma's in a better spot. They've made the quarterback change. Michael Hawkins was a very highly touted recruit, and a lot of fans were excited and actually calling for him to play more a few weeks ago when Jackson Arnold was struggling. So I think they're in a good spot. Like if Oklahoma commits themselves to Hawkins, we saw his dual threat ability. They were able to score 2 touchdowns late against Tennessee last week. If he continues to progress and they continue to evolve the offense around him and his skill set, I think there's a chance Oklahoma's offense takes off and is really good by mid to late season if they stick with him in the game plan. Now, on the flip side, Auburn, they're just in a no-win situation. You made the change to Hank Brown. He looked awesome against New Mexico, and then Cinderella turned into a pumpkin last week against an SEC opponent. So, Peyton Thorne played okay, through the touchdown pass to Keandre Lambert-Smith. I think they're going to go back to Peyton Thorne, and it's probably the right decision. And if he can cut out the mistakes, I think Auburn can maybe solidify it. Would not shock me if this is a week that Peyton Thorne plays well and they come out with the win, and then suddenly Hugh Freeze is, all right, Peyton Thorne's our guy the rest of the year. We're committed to him.
Of these 3 games that I'm about to give you, Gordy, give me the one that winds up being the closest final score. Ole Miss against Kentucky, Mississippi State traveling to Texas, or South Alabama, who beat Oklahoma State last year, traveling to LSU.
Yeah, the Ole Miss Kentucky game really intrigues me because I feel like Kentucky just played completely flat a few weeks ago in that South Carolina game. They got embarrassed, and honestly, they outright quit in that second half. I think Mark Stoops did a good job of getting the buy-in back from that team. They had a hell of a week of practice. They played their butts off against Georgia. It was a 1-point loss. It sucks to lose, and I know there's no moral victories, but it was a moral victory. You played your butts off against the number 1 team in the country and had a chance to win and lost by 1. I think you're going to see a really good effort from Kentucky. Let's not forget 2 years ago, they played, Kentucky and Ole Miss played, and Kentucky lost that game 22-19. It's because Will Levis had a couple of stupid turnovers, and they had every chance to win that game late in that game, and they gave it away. This is a different Ole Miss team. Obviously, the defense has improved, but I think we still don't really know what Ole Miss is. I mean, there's no measuring stick of the teams that they've played. You played a bad Wake Forest team on the road, but other than that, it's been 3 high school teams you've played. So I don't know. I think Kentucky comes ready to play. The key is going to be Brock Vandagriff. Has he gotten any better? Looked better last week, against the slappy that they played. But I think if he can be better and get the ball to Dane Key and Barry and Brown in those pass-catching weapons, I think Kentucky could find themselves in a close game. Look, Lane Kiffin, I don't know if he's blowing smoke or trying to gaslight us, but all week he's been saying this is an NFL caliber defense that Kentucky has, NFL caliber players. He may be just saying all that so that when they win by 20, he could say, man, see, I told you they were an NFL team. But I think he's legitimately saying they got some playmakers that are going to give us some problems.
I actually have a lot of confidence in Ole Miss. I'm going to go South Alabama, keeping it closer than 22. I'll take them to cover that 22 number, according to our friends at FanDuel. Even in Death Valley, UCLA went in there, gave them a push. I don't think LSU's on upset alert. I just think that's going to be the closest of those 3 games. Mississippi State is plus 39.5 at Texas.
The only quarterback that's played better, just maybe a step behind, when you talk about the Jackson Dart in the conference, Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, he has been lights out. And LSU's defense, if they could just get some stops, I think South Alabama will score in the 20s. But, it wouldn't shock me if they pull away in the second half and they win it, 49-20, something like that.
Speaking of the state of Alabama, I want your pick on Alabama and Georgia. I think the Crimson Tide are winning this game at home. I really just want to know, Gordy, if there is going to be a webcam of Nick Saban watching the game so I can see how he's reacting. Like, is he just going crazy like a normal fan does now in his living room? Like that old video of him at practice, like, no, Giselle, run the route again. It's cut. Like, is that what he's doing when he's watching the game on TV? I need to know. I need to know how he is.
He'll be on campus for game day. I'm sure they'll probably bring him up in a suite or something during the game, but I don't know. I can't see him fanning. I think he's probably more measured, sitting back with his feet kicked up, and Georgia hits a big pass play. He goes, so that's busted coverage. Like, I think he's more measured like that. I don't think he's a fan like us going rah-rah cheering. But look, I'll say this. Georgia's pass defense has been very impressive so far. And, yes, look, they didn't play the greatest, cleanest game against Kentucky. But each week we start to see Clemson's offense roll. We look back on that week 1 game and go, it's a pretty damn impressive win for Georgia.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great point.
I think they're going to be tested. I think this is a game. Look, Ryan Williams has been awesome for Alabama so far. The stud, 17-year-old freshman. Look at him. You're playing a real defense now. You're going to play some tight coverage. This ain't, Bessemer High School or wherever he went. Like, you're going to have some really good stud corners covering you for once, this season. And so how do they respond? Look, Bama's got all the momentum, right? They're coming off a great dominant road win at Wisconsin. It's a home game. Bryant Denny's going to be rocking. But I will say, there's a reason why Vegas has still had Georgia as a favorite all week. I just got back from Vegas. Those buildings, there were no burnt out lights in Vegas. Those buildings are standing strong for a reason. They're usually not wrong on things. I've been thinking Bama all week, but I'm starting to turn the tide and go, what if Georgia executes on offense? What if Bama's offense looks like they did for 3 quarters against USF and Jalen Milroe's under pressure and they can't run the football? This one could get dicey for Bama late.
I think it's just going to be an awesome football game either way. Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC. Chris, enjoyed as always.
Thanks, man.